Chapter 34. The Sacred Tree. I quickly grabbed Fatty, whispering sternly, "Cut the crap, man. Didn't we agree not to touch anything here?" Fatty seemed startled, then regained his composure. "Man, that was strange. My hand just started acting on its own accord." In my mind, I kept saying not to touch anything, yet somehow I couldn't control my own hand. "Don't make excuses," I retorted. "It seems you just couldn't resist the lure of treasure. Don't just stand there. Let's keep moving." As I said this, I glanced over at Shirley Yang, who was preoccupied with helping Professor Chen down from the ladder and had fortunately missed Fatty's indiscretion. I turned to Chu Jian. "Why have you come down as well? Weren't you supposed to look after Yi Sin on the platform?" Chu Jian replied, "Brother, I wanted to have a look at this ancient tomb. Just a quick look and I'll head back up." Not just him. Everyone present was eager to glimpse the Jingjue Queen's coffin. Despite the possibility of danger, curiosity overpowered caution, especially for those in the field of archaeology. Professor Chen, who had just climbed down, was catching his breath when he said, "Let them have a look. This is a rare learning opportunity. It's good for them to broaden their horizons. No matter how powerful the queen once was, she's been dead for 2,000 years. The nation she ruled fell to slaves after her death. There shouldn't be any danger. We just need to always remember our principles as archaeologists and not damage anything in here." I figured he was right. The queen was long dead, and any sorcery she might have known was rendered useless. Those who had faced danger in this tomb must have been enchanted by the treasures and thus were unable to leave. These burial items seemed to be the greatest trap of all. The only way to resist greed was to avoid looking at them. The Jingjue Queen's lifetime was filled with legends of power and influence over the western regions. Yet in the end, she couldn't escape death. Such is the nature of life. It changes like a game of chess, always a new scenario and ultimately decreed by the heavens. No power can defy the natural laws of the universe. Meanwhile, Yi Sin, aided by Sudi Pong, descended the ladder as well. We all moved forward carefully, surrounded by pitch darkness, which made me wonder whether we had reached the belly of Zaglama Mountain. Given the vast space within this huge cave and the inability to discern the terrain, we could finally make use of the strong illumination gear we had been reluctant to use until now. This was a hefty handheld searchlight, weighing 8 kilograms and equipped with a high-pressure spherical xenon lamp and a pure platinum nickel reflector, capable of illuminating up to 2.5 kilometers in open space without any medium interference. Since the device consumed a substantial amount of power and couldn't be used for long durations, we had refrained from using it until now. But the time had come to bring it into play. I quickly assembled the searchlight while Fatty detached the belt battery and loaded it into the compartment behind the lamp. Curious, Sudi Pung with his nearsighted eyes peered into the light aperture until Shirley Yang cautioned him, "Be careful. That light is incredibly intense. Within 100 meters, it could cause immediate blindness. Don't look directly into it." The searchlight was soon ready, and with everyone standing behind it, I flicked the switch. A solid beam of light shot forth, illuminating our surroundings with clarity. Indeed, we were at the base of Zaglama Mountain, surrounded by black stones above and around us. A precipice laden with burial jewels was in sight, along with countless tall stone statues with huge eyes. Below the cliff's edge was a large circular hole. Just like the mural depicted in the temple corridor, the hole had a diameter of around 1 kilometer, obviously not a work of human hands. Surrounding this unfathomable abyss were spiral stairs built into the cavity walls. Shining the powerful searchlight downwards, the man-made stairs wound around the wall several times before coming to an abrupt end, their construction seemingly pushed to humanity's limits. The light from the searchlight could not reach the bottom. The hole was bottomless, with cold drafts of wind gushing up, generating a massive and dark oppressive sensation, deterring us from looking any further down. One might lose their composure and, driven by a chaotic mind, potentially leap into the abyss. Shirley Yang pondered, "This must be the sacred site of the Jingjue Kingdom, the origin of the Ghost Cave tribe's name. But where does this ghostly hole lead?" Seeing the vast cavern triggered a slight chill in my heart. This ghost hole might just be an opening to hell. Damn. It really makes you dizzy just looking at it. Professor Chin, ever the skeptic, remarked, "Ah, brother Hu, as a soldier, why believe in spirits and ghosts? I believe this cavern is a marvel of nature, a carving by the gods themselves. People from 2,000 years ago likely regarded it as divine." I was about to point out to the professor that some things in this world can't be viewed entirely through the lens of materialism. At least, I've had my share of encounters that couldn't be scientifically explained. Before I could express my thoughts, Fatty's discovery interrupted me. Fatty shone the searchlight in a direction and called out for us to look. The beam revealed a thin, elongated stone beam jutting out from the cliff, suspended over the middle of the giant cavity below. At the end of this precipitously hanging stone beam was a segment of an enormous log, over 2 meters in diameter, appearing as if it had been cut straight from a vast tree without any processing, complete with branches and even some leaves still intact. Iron chains, about a dozen or so, were wound around the log and attached to the stone beam, securing it to the ground. Even more incredibly, a huge green plant bloomed from the log. The flower was the size of a large bucket, with skinny tops and bulbous middles with petals tightly curled up in thick green. The flower was surrounded by large blood-red leaves. It had rooted into the wood, and its vines, entwined with the iron chains, clung tightly to the log. I exclaimed in shock, "This log! It's the sacred tree from Mount Kunlun." I recalled my grandfather mentioning that the best material for a coffin was from the shade-dried trunk of a tree. There was also one rarefied wood that was a treasure among treasures, seldom seen by anyone. A tree recorded only in ancient texts called the Sacred Tree of Kunlun. Legend has it that even just a segment of this sacred tree, removed from soil, water, and sunlight, would never dry up. Although it would no longer grow, it would retain its form forever. If a body were placed within a coffin made from the Kunlun sacred tree, it could be preserved for millennia. Could it be that the body of the Jingjue queen rests within this log? Shirley Yang's voice trembled slightly. "There's no mistake. This is a coffin made from the Kunlun sacred tree. Ancient texts say that this tree is as old as the Kunlun mountains themselves. Even Emperor Qin Shi Huang had sought the Kunlun sacred tree for his coffin. It's incredible that the Jingjue queen managed to obtain such a thing. I fear there might be no one in history whose coffin is more valuable than hers." Everyone found it hard to temper their excitement at the prospect of seeing the historic artifacts up close. As Professor Chan attempted to hold them back, seemingly with some urgent words of caution, he stepped on a loose stone and twisted his ankle. We had to help him back to his feet, but the injury was serious enough that he could no longer walk and had to sit to speak. "You must not rashly approach and damage those things," he implored. "Didn't you see that peculiar flower on the coffin?" Fatty jokingly remarked, "Professor Chun, are you saying that's a flower? It looks so strange. I thought it was a huge taro. How can there be a plant growing out of the coffin? Unless, did they bury the queen as a seed to grow in the divine wood, and now she's sprouted and bloomed?" Professor Chin, rubbing his sore ankle, clarified, "Indeed, it might seem that way. Do you know the scientific name for that flower? It's called the corpse flower, a very rare and dangerous plant, possibly the only one of its kind left in the world." Upon hearing the name, corpse flower, we all felt a shudder, Shirley Young included, who was hearing about this strange floral marvel for the first time. With its formidable name, we all urged Professor Chen for more details. "In my studies of ancient Western region civilizations," Professor Chen explained, "I came across this plant in some remaining ancient murals and historical records. It originated in the land of Hoyuetian, once traveled via the Silk Road into the Central Plains, and became extinct due to unsuitable soil and climate conditions. The corpse flower can grow in ancient tombs and allegedly preserves the body, preventing decay and exuding fragrance. The civilizations of the Western regions were full of mysteries, with a complex tapestry of religions where myth merged with historical facts, making them difficult to separate. I took it as nothing more than an ancient myth." Shirley Young, glancing toward the flower on the distant stone beam, then asked, "If it's such a wondrous plant, why did you say it's dangerous?" Professor Chin continued, "What I mentioned before was just a part of its characteristics. There is a legend that the corpse flower harbors evil spirits. Once it has grown, The living must not approach it. Only a coffin made from the sacred wood of Kunlun and this ancient magical corpse flower could exist together here. Having encountered many curious and bizarre events in my life, I had never seen a coffin and malevolent flower as mysterious and eerie as these. I said to Professor Chen, "This is truly odd. In the middle of Zaglama Mountain, where no light could reach, to see such a plant growing. These mysterious things are indeed befitting of the Queen's peculiar status, all contradictory to the natural laws we know."